Welcome to the 22nd session of Advaita Aparokshanubhuti offered by Bindoji. The recordings of the 21 sessions are available on YouTube, Advaita Retold channel, pasted in the chat, and also in Clubhouse as replays. There are two references. One that is pinned on top of the room. That is an English version from Swami Vimuktananda. And that's a word-to-word translation to English, no interpretation. Whereas the one in the chat is from a scholar Vidyaranya, which is purely in Sanskrit. So we can think of this compendium of talks as one of the translations with Bindoji's interpretations of Aparokshanubhuti. I'll close the chat and hand raising for the session, but I've pasted a note in the chat regarding, because usually we have an open discussion. And since Bindoji's schedule has changed since his move to Australia, we were not sure if we should just keep going with Aparokshanubhuti, or if any one of you is interested in having an open discussion, then Bindoji is prepared to stop a little bit earlier. And then we can go into a deeper discussion on questions you have. So please let us know in the chat. I'll leave the chat open so we'll know what it is. And over to you, Bindoji.
Thank you, Prakash. Om Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartrubhyo Vamsharishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashi Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Guru Ratmeti Murtiveda Vipakine Vyomavad Vyaptadehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Aparokshanubhuti. Sri Harim Paramanandam Upadeshtaramishwaram Vyapakam Sarvalokanam Karanam Tam Namamyaham. So in the last class, we were discussing the verse number 55. Ayamatma hi Brahma sarvatmavataya stitaha iti nirdharitam shrutya brihadaranya samsthaya. So, shoka karana dvaita abhave pramanam aha ayamiti. That is, why is this Atma or this self in all of us or this awareness in all of us is Brahma or the total awareness. It is not individualized awareness. We cannot call it as individualized because the idea of the individual doesn't exist when we go to the awareness. It is not my awareness, your awareness, and the awareness bifurcated or divided between the individualities. The awareness we are talking about is not the knowledge or the consciousness or the experience that is happening in our mental level or intellectual level. Why? Because we are even aware as an entity of what is happening in our mind, intellect, etc. There is an observer or a witness which has no individuality or the identity with the body, mind, intellect, or the complex of the who we are. Everything is there in an awareness or consciousness. What the name is not important. It is that with which everything is being known. So what is being told here is not the experience or the awareness which we have in our mental realm or our intellectual understanding, what is happening, which is being referred in the Upanishad here as Atma. The self, or I am Atma. I am means this. This Atma, or this self, which is being referred to for the purpose of our understanding, because the next word is negating that individualistic idea. When it is said this self is the whole, or the Brahman, or the infinite, or the only thing which is therefore as a substratum, then the individualized aspect is dissolved or diminished or, made redundant. So when it says that I am Atma Brahma, Vijnanamaya is the word in which, the way in which the Upanishad, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad talks about it. This self indeed is Brahman of nature of consciousness or awareness. So even though the word Brahman is being used, Atma is being used, the Upanishad itself is denying that any reference to the individuality or the totality. Even totality cannot be said. The totality will again bring in our mind an idea of summation of many individuals or many multiplicities. Even that cannot be used. Therefore, it is negating saying that Brahma means Vijnanamaya. Now, the word Vijnanamaya in Sanskrit is a very, very, very specific word. The Maya word at the end is to indicate the presence of that which cannot accommodate anything other than itself. So for example, if I say this bar of gold is 100% gold, when I'm saying Swarnamaya, so gold means Swarna in Sanskrit. If I am saying Swarnamaya, that means that bar of gold do not have even 0.00001 of any other material or any other contamination which will make it not 100%. Such a state where it is Vijnanamaya. Vijnana means we have the problem to translate that into English. So let me get into the etymology of it and make you all understand. Jnana, the word jnana is coming from the root. Jna means to know, avabodhane. It is that in which every knowing is taking place. The verb is indicating about a state. It is not indicating an activity of knowing, but it is a state of something in which the activity of knowing appears to be taking place. Now, if I want to bring in an example to that is, if I say the space is the one which gives or allows things to appear in it or be in it. So the state of beingness of objects is in the space. But space as a what you call status or a place, it is not contributing for any activity for something to come inside it. For example, if we are coming from outside a house into a house, we can say we are entering the house. Now, things which are appearing in the space is already in the space, but when it is being made appearing in a space, For example, when we build the walls to make a house or a school or a hospital or anything like that, we categorize that the school has come up or the office has come up or the hospital has come up. But if you really analyze that activity, every grain of sand which is contributing for that space to be called a school or a house or a hospital was already in the space, occupying space. Without space, they would not have been existing. Now they are all coming together in the form of bricks, walls, windows, doors, roof, etc., and the floor, etc., which have been already occupying space in some place or the other. Now they are all have come together, which is called the Sankada or the assemblage of different things to give rise to the, say, hospital, for example. Now when we do this, theoretically speaking or technically speaking, there is no new activity which is going in the space for the creation of the hospital. But as an experience, we feel that the space has come up, which we now call it as a hospital. So from the point of view of the space, there is no activity, nothing new has come up, nor new products are being brought into its realm, which we call it as space, or things like that. So what happens in the case of knowledge as a space or a equivalent to, similar to when we call it as a space? It is not the knowing which is we are familiar with, or the consciousness which we are familiar with, or the awareness we are familiar with. We are familiar with those activities which is taking place in our mind. But when it is being observed as a witness, what is happening even in our mind, we are able to objectify the effect in the mind or the knowing in the mind or the awareness in the mind as a witness which has this capacity to be aware of the events in the mind, similar to the capacity of the space to be aware of the bricks, etc., coming together to make a hospital. It is not outside the space. At the same time, the experience of the hospital coming up is not something new to the space, but at the same time, it is allowing such an incident or an event to appear to be happening. Same is the case when we say of Vijnanamaya. Vijnanamaya is that 100% pure state of awareness where nothing other than awareness is there, in which the mind, now like the hospital, is experiencing the individuality and the feelings of the individuality of knowing, of our sensory inputs, our mental inputs, our intellectual happening, all those things. But from the point of view of the substratum or the witness or the observer point of view, which is not involved in this knowing aspect, but as the potency to have the illuminating knowledge of events happening in the mind, it is Vijnanamaya. That is what is called Brahma. Now, when I am not identifying myself with the limited mind, events happening in the mind, intellect and the physical body, sense organs, everything. But I am as a observer of myself, the individuality, the idea of individuality, the mind, intellect, every events in the mind, etc. When all those things are called, I am called as the self or Atma. But it is not separate from the status where everybody's similar activity is happening, like the space. Therefore, Atma and Brahma is now being told by the Upanishad as non-separate. There is only one, non-dual Brahman, which itself is Atma, which is now I am categorizing my experiences of the individuality with the body, mind, intellect, everything, similar to the space which is one and only one, which is now capable of the hospital experience. So, when this verse is being told that it is said that shoka karana advaita abhave pramanam. The feeling of sorrow or the idea that we have sorrow, etc., is from the individuality point of view. And we identify as my sorrow, my happiness, etc. Sorrow is one of the experiences which is being mentioned here to indicate all sorts of experiences. Sorrow, happiness, anger, jealousy, all those things which we are, and taste, experiences of sense organs, experiences of activity of the body, everything is knowing in that knowledge of the individuality. But there is a higher level of the individuality where the individuality itself is being a content of knowledge. That is what is called the self, and in that state of the content where the content is being observed, at that level the content cannot be present. The content is supposed to be that means the hospital and the events inside the hospital, even though it is happening, appearing to be happening in the space is untouched by that. In the space, nothing, no event is happening, because without the space, none of the events would have happened. That is the negation. Same way, in the Atman or Brahman, there can never be a sorrow, happiness, everything, because that is at the mind level. And even the mind is a appearance in the awareness which do not have independent existence. If we take out the awareness from the mind-body complex, which is our deep sleep, or when we are in a zoning, or when we are put into coma or anesthesia, where we do not have any connection with our physicality or the body, we do not know whether we are experiencing anything or not. This anubhava or this experience, where individuality is not present and individuality's absence makes us absent of any of the emotions of the individuality also, that state is called the Vijnanamaya, which is the Brahman or Atman. So this is the pramana what the Shruti is giving, in Upanishad is harping upon, for us to understand that what we are. We are not the body-mind complex because we are aware of it. Now the word we are aware of it is very important. Let us look at the next verse, which is being that we think. Anubhūto pi ayam lokaha Vyavahara-kshamo api san asadrupa yada swapna uttarakshana bhadatah. I am lokaha, this world, anubhūtaha, experienced. Even though vyavahara-kshama, it is fit for all practical purposes. That is never being denied. Vyavahara-kshama means the practicality or the utilitarian value of the world of experiences is not being denied. Even though it is there, yata swapna uttarakshana bhadataha asadrupaha. Yada swapna, just as a dream, uttarakshana bhadataha means the consequence of being contradicted in the next moment. That is, all experiences of the waking is exactly like that of the dream, because the moment we go out of the waking or from dreaming, they do not exist. Just as we say the dream when we come to waking is non-existent, or it is a unreal experience, asadrupa, of non-existent reality. Even the waking, we should call it as non-existent reality, because the waking individual, the individuality, the mind, body, complex of the individual and the experiences of the individual and the world of experiences, what is called the loka, just as the dream world, is asadrupa, is non-existent. Therefore, swapne jagar, next verse is the swapna jagarana kshane alikaha swapnopi jagaraho na hi dvayameva laye nasti layopi hyu ubhayor na cha. Jagarane, in the waking, swapnaha alikaha, the unreality of the dream is experienced by us. Swapne api jagaraha, in the reverse, in the dream, the world is also not the just same unreal. But only thing is that we are not able to do that in the dream because of the absence of the logical mind in the dream. But the experiential point of view, both are exactly the same. Eva, laya, eva. Both are being dissolved in one another. Therefore, ubayohu nacha. Both of them are equally non-existent. Both the dream and the waking are absolutely identical from the point of view of the awareness which is able to observe the dream, waking and the deep sleep as a witness. Therefore, we have to understand that what is the intent of this verse by Adi Shankaracharya for the Aparokshanubhuti is, Nanu ayam lokaha eva tat karanaha sati katam sokhadya bhavaha uchyate iti ashankya. If the doubt is there in us, how this world is unreal, the objection, that if this world of multiplicity which has utilitarian value and everything, if indeed exists, and Brahman is the cause for it, how can one claim that sorrow, etc. are not present in Brahman, but only in the utilitarian world? Now, if Brahman has become the world, it should be in Brahman also, because if the space is the one which has become the hospital, everything what is happening inside the hospital should be happening in the space. So the good or the bad inside the hospital, the birth or the death in the hospital should be happening in the space. The answer is sadrishtandamaha anubhūta iti. Example is given that the answer is experienced. Now, what is being this thing? The birth, death, etc. are being experienced as if happening in the space. From the point of view of the birth and death and the hospital, that is taking place. But from the point of view of the space, did anything come apart from already that is existing in the space to call it as a birth? Or did something else vanish from the space to say that it has gone away from space? Both birth and death are appearance and disappearance of already existing materials. Same way, the experience of the working and the experiences of the dream are not something which is new. They are nothing but consciousness or awareness, and in that, what appears with a new name and form, we call it as a new experience. What is there is what is being experienced. The dream world, the objects in the dream world was in consciousness. It is now being experienced through the mind, like the hospital. Through the hospital, the birth and death is being seen. Same way, through the mind, now we call it as an experience. But if you look from the purity of the awareness, it was not something which has come into awareness from the point of view of awareness. From the point of view of the mind, yes. What you say or what we say is, it is a new experience, a new name and form has appeared. Because we do not know the reality what before the appearance of the name and the form in the mind. Therefore, we call it as a new experience that is happening in the mind. But if you look from the purity of the awareness, can there something which appear which is not from the point of that Vijnanamaya, not from the mind point of view, from the point of view of the awareness, which is the appearance of the space or the substratum, can something new appear? No. Therefore, what is being experienced is the very reason that it is a mental phenomena and not a reality. Just because it is being experienced is the very reason why it is being denied that it is not something new. It is new from the point of view of the mind, but not from the point of view of the what you call world of experience. So we should understand that we are in a state of delusion. That is why it is called mithya or ignorance or appearance, because they are already in what we call it as Brahman, Atman, or the substratum awareness. From that, when they appear in the mind as an entity with the name and form, because we identify ourselves as mental individuals, for that individual, the experience is something new and being felt real. But it is not something which is being created fresh. Therefore, the anubhūti or the experience itself is the reason why we should reject that it is something new which is happening. So this is what the two verses summation is, that the fitting example is provided grounded in actual experience, anubhūti. And doubt should be now very clear that The world may appear, but that appearance does not falsify that the substratum of awareness in which it appeared has undergone any change. Just as when the dream appeared, the mind and awareness, or the awareness, did not go through any change. The experience in the mind is what is happening. Same way, the world of waking, when it happened, it is in the mind of the waker, the waking world is happening. But from the point of view of the pure awareness, the real happening is not there. But the same we can also, from this rope and snake example, also think. When we do not know the substratum awareness, what appears in the mind appears to be real. Just as when we do not know the name of the content of the appearance of the snake, which is the rope, the snake appearing in our mind, which appears to be real at that time, is felt as real in the mind. But the originality, the original substance, which is the rope, had never become the snake at any point of time. Same way, the original awareness, consciousness, Atma or Brahman, has never become the waker or the dreamer, the waking world or the dream world. This is what we have to look into as the reason why, just because experience we say it is real, is the very reason why, which is Advaita is using, saying that because it is experience, we say it is not real. Because Brahman is not a cause for the waker or the dreamer. And the waking experiences of sorrow, fear, etc. cannot be said to be yours, because you are the one who is knowing or experiencing it. Therefore, the experience is not real. You are the reality. Because why? The knower doesn't undergo any change. It is nityam, eternal. It is permanent. What comes and goes can never be eternal or permanent. So therefore, the fear, the sorrow, the happiness, all experiences, therefore, every experience, including the experience of the individuality and the world, is coming and going. Therefore, they are unreal, or they are temporary phenomena, and the reality of the witness or the awareness, which doesn't undergo any change. But there is no I-ness also to that, to say that it is my awareness. It is that totality of consciousness or awareness in which the individuality also comes, the world also comes, the waker comes, the dreamer comes, but they all come and go. Therefore, they are all unreal. The Brahman or Atman is the only reality. This is what the two verses 56 and 57 summation put together is to be seen together. Is there any request, Prakash, for the open house?
Arian had a question, but I don't think she is looking forward to an open discussion. So if you want to continue, you can continue, because we still have half an hour after that, depending on your schedule.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll take verses, and then we will answer this question from Arian, etc.
Sure.
Okay. So we will go to the next verse, which is Trayameva bhaven mitya gunatrayava vinirmitam asya drishta gunatito nityo hi ekaha chidatmakaha. Gunatraya vinirmitam. Vinirmitam means special creation. Nirmita means creation. Vinirmita means visheshena nirmita. It's a special form of appearance, we can say. Appearance is also a creation, but it is special in the sense that it cannot be considered as real. Therefore, it is vinirmita. Creation due to what? Gunatraya. The three gunas, Sattu, Rajas, Tamas, or the Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. We can say that in all these things. Trayam means three. Evam, Mithya. Therefore, they are unreal. Why? Because they are not permanent in nature. What comes and goes cannot be real. Therefore, it is unreal. And the word Mithya doesn't deny that they are not experienced. It is saying that they are experienced because they are unreal. Like the snake experience was unreal, as long as you do not know the rope, as long as you know the rope, but the moment you don't have the knowledge of the rope, the rope became the snake. The rope has never ever become a snake. But the appearance of the snake happened because when we do not know the reality. Same way, when we do not know our reality or the nature in which everything appearing, the substratum, the reality of the substratum, when we do not know, everything in the world that is in the waking, dream and deep sleep appears to be real. I am as an individual who is undergoing the waking, dream and deep sleep is real. Therefore, they are appearances. That is why it is called Vinirmitam, appearances, and they are not real. But then, what is real? Asya drashta. The witness or the one who is aware of these happening. I am the one who knows the waking, dream and deep sleep is happening to the experience part of it. I cannot even say I am experiencing the waking, dream and because even the individuality is a knowledge or awareness from the witness point of view. That is why when we do neti, the last one is the witness who says everything is no, not this, not this. Whatever is known is object. I am the subject. But even I am the subject is also an awareness where even the I amness is also not permanent, because I amness is not permanent. There is no place where I amness was permanent. Awareness was permanent, but the I amness was related to the individuality which is related to the mind, body and complex. Therefore, asya drashta, the one which is a witness to this, that is one, because I cannot say it is mine, you cannot say yours. It is one like the space for all those things, even space and appearance inside that. Therefore, ekaha. And what is the nature? Chidatmakaha. It is the nature of consciousness. The nature of that, Vijnanamaya or Chidatmaka, is pure awareness. We were that is why in the Taittiriya Upanishads it is said, where the words fail, and we cannot take the mind to that level for apprehension. So, yato vacho nivartande aprapya manasa saha, when that verse was said in the Taittiriya Upanishad, the words fail and the mind cannot fathom is from that point of view that it is not individualized awareness. Therefore, you cannot designate it by any term, nomenclature or anything like that. Therefore, vacha nivartande. The words fail to designate it. Aprapya manasa saha. Because even mind is in awareness. the substratum awareness which cannot say that I am knowing the mind, because I am also at the mind level only. But it is pure awareness. That is why Chidatmaka. However much I try to explain it, I have limitation in language, I cannot explain it. But if you can take yourself out of your mind, intellect, body complex, be in that Chidatmaka, Vijnanamaya state, you will not have multiplicity there. All duality will be negated. Therefore only one. Ekameva Advitiyam Brahma. That Brahman or awareness, consciousness is only one and non-dual. The word non-dual is used for the purpose of potency of even the I-ness, which can be sometimes used to say that I am Brahma. No, you are not Brahma. There is no I amness in it. So the Aham Brahmasmi statement, when the statement is being made, it is not to enforce that there is a I who is now knowing as Brahman. No. It is the dissolving of the individuality in the pure consciousness or awareness, where the I-ness and the consciousness are not two separate things, but one and the same only. That is why it is mentioned here in this verse, second line, Asya Drashta, the vastness of this phenomenal world of multiplicity, which is either the Sattva-rajas tamas or the Jagrat Swapna Sushupti, or all type of the multiplicity which we can say. When you deny that, it has to be eternal. That is why the word Nitya is important for it. What is real is eternal. And whatever is appearing as transient, temporary, ephemeral, but appearing to be giving real experience is unreal. Because there is only one reality. The truth is only one. And that is consciousness, awareness, Brahman. The world, this, if you can really meditate upon and work on this, it is immediate, here and now. There is no point in, taking effort for that. Right now, this very moment, you are the knowing principle where even you know that the I-ness or the individuality is a knowledge or awareness in that. And why it is to be negated? Because if it had been real and permanent, if the I-ness has been real and permanent, it should have been present in all the three states of mind. There is Jagrat and Swapna, the dream and the waking, the I-ness is experienced. But I did not even have the I-ness in my deep sleep. Therefore, the I-ness is not eternal. I am denying my eternity of my experiential phenomena by denying that I-ness is phenomenal nature only. But from the point of view of pure awareness, there is no I-ness. That is the eternal nature. That is why it is Ekaha, Nityaha, and Chidatmakaha. It is of the nature of consciousness. Yet Mrinmati, the 59th verse, Yet Mrinmati Gadabhrantim Shuptova Rajatastitim Tadvad Brahmani Jivatvam Vikshamane Na Pashyati. Yadvat, just as Mridi Ghadabranti. In the mud or in the clay, Ghadabranti means the illusion of a jar. Think very carefully. The jar is nothing but mud. The clay or the mud has transformed or appearing to have taken a special shape. So there is a transactional reality of pot in that mud, which was not present earlier. In a lump of clay, the utilitarian value of the clay was not there for storing water or grain, etc. But they became real, and I could store water or grain in that as a phenomena, but that is not negating the fundamental reality that I am storing it only in mud. You may call it as a jar, but I am storing it in the mud because mud is the substratum for the jar. Therefore, it is a bhranti or an illusion of name and form called jar for the same lump of mud. That is one aspect. A second example is Va Shuptau Rajatastiti. In the nature or in the shell on the beach, we are seeing silveriness. Here, what is that? It is not that the shell has undergone a name and form change like the mud and the pot. It is remaining as shell itself. It is giving rise to the appearance that it's a silver coin. That indivisibility of the silveriness and the coin and the shell is a second sort of illusion. See, the two examples are giving for two different aspects which is being negated. The first one is there is a apparent transformation, whereas in the second case of the shell and the silveriness in it, without even transformation or without even undergoing any change, the substratum itself is now being felt as silver. Same way, the substratum in which the awareness is the nature is the reason why we are feeling that awareness is happening in me, but the mind and the individuality. The mind and individuality is not separate awareness, but transactionally they are different because it has got limitation, it has got identification, it is having a subject-object experiencing Triputi, or the three phases of subject-object experience and all those things. But they are all nothing but what? The fundamental nature of the awareness. It is awareness which is the subject. It is the awareness which is the object. It is the awareness which is the connection between the subject and object. If you remove awareness from that, neither there will be subject, nor will there be object, nor will there be any knowing taking place. So two examples. One is the mud and the pot for the confusion what is being done for the appearance of the phenomenal world. Now the phenomenal world is an appearance like space now giving rise to the school or the college or the hospital. The mud is now giving rise to the earth pot. The silver appearance in the shell never underwent any change or transformation like the lump of clay to become a pot. Same way, the fundamental awareness or the absolute awareness is never undergoing any change. In that, now we are giving rise to the mind, like the silver coin appearing as the shell appearing as a silver coin. The mind or the individuality and the phenomenon of the individuality and the world, only when the individuality is there, the world is also appearing. The world has no separate experiences or existence. It is appearance in awareness only. The world, that is why the world is also the same appearance of the individuality. The Sarvatma Bhava, that I am the same and I should see the sameness in everything world outside. We are not able to do that because we are operating at the mental level. But if you are operating from the awareness, pure awareness level or the consciousness level or pure absolute nature, in that the mind appears, the individuality, the subject, the world of object appears for the subject. The world is also nothing but the same awareness in which it's appearing. The experience of experiencing the world is nothing but awareness. So the subject object awareness and everything is nothing but one substratum, which is the silver nature of the shell, which is now becoming a silver coin, which is transactable. So this verse is another verse where we have to really, what he says that is that Tadvat Brahmani Jivatva Vikshamane na Pashyati. Tadvat, exactly in the same fashion of the mud and the pot and the nacer and the silver, or the shell and the silver, in Brahman, or the fundamental absolute consciousness, reality or awareness, Jivatvam, the individuality, Vikshamane na Pashyati. Once you do the analysis, Vikshamane means, actually the word meaning is realized. But the word realization has got a lot of, imaginative and spirituality wise, given so much of bad connotation or context that people think realization is something happening to certain people and at certain time after doing certain exercises of meditation, japa, etc. No, it is sarvasadharana, means it's a common experience to everyone. All persons who are doing an analysis of this nature, what is my reality, what is the reality of the world, once he goes through this analysis, he will know that everything is nothing but pure awareness. It is not my awareness, my world. No. There is no my world, my awareness. In the awareness, everything appears, including I and the world, to what to talk about others in the world. So they cannot be separate from things. So Vishyamane na Pashyati. If you do the analysis properly, and if you shift your identification from the individuality to the absolute reality, na Pashyati, there is no multiplicity. There is no world, no individuality. There is no Jagrat Swapna Sushupti for such a person. He feels that these are all nothing but appearances of same awareness, which is now I am calling as my waking, my dream, my deep sleep, my awareness, my world, etc. Everything dissolves into that pure awareness. Yada mridi, one more verse I can take. No, 28. I think I'll take 60 onwards in the next class, Wednesday class. We'll stop it here. ॐ पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ थैंक यू धन्यवाद
Thank you, Bindoji. Thank you very much. I've opened the hand raising, and I think Arian had a question. If you want to come up, Arian, you can ask that specific question. I think that might be, yeah.
Good morning, Pinduchi.
good morning everyone how are you
I'm all right. Good evening, Prakash. Hello, everyone. Yeah. I just had this question. I put it in the chat that, I'm wondering when one is not so motivated by desire and identification with the world, where one finds one's motivation.
all these question which you are asked is from the individual standpoint of view. If you consider the individuality as the reality, then your questions are from that point of view. But if you know you are not the individual anymore, you are that awareness, fundamental awareness or the consciousness in which the individuality appears, the motivation, the question, the desire, the sorrow, all sorts of feelings as the individual level, you will know that they are all nothing appearances only when I feel that I am the individual. But when you are not the individual, your experience is not the individual anymore, where do they exist? They cannot exist in you anymore because you are no more the limited individual. You are that absolute pure consciousness where there is no potency for anything to be known. All are appearance. I'm not saying that knowledge is not happening, awareness is not happening, nothing of this sort. But you should understand that they are only appearances, but they have no fundamentally reality. In the waking, what waking is real. In the dream, what is dream is real. But that doesn't mean that the waking and the dream are absolutely real from the point of view of the fundamental or the absolute reality, what is being experienced. So, if you can shift yourself, you are not the individual Aryan who is asking the question, but if you are the fundamental reality, will there be any question for you? But as an individual this thing, your question is there for the waker, the waking reality, and that will be conditioned by the conditioning of the rules of the waking. The rules of the waking is applicable only when you are awake. They are not applicable for your dream or your deep sleep or your true nature or your fundamental reality, which is your permanent awareness or the absolute awareness. If you can make out the difference between the two, you know where the answer lies.
Well, there's a big discrepancy for me between living that and understanding that or even knowing what you say is true. So what motivates you, Binduji, to do this or to do anything for that matter?
Because you should know who you are. If you are thinking you are the limited individual and suffering the way, do you want the end for your suffering and happiness? If you don't want that, then your question, you don't have to do anything. You have to be in the in the sorrowful state all the time, right? But if you want to put an end to your sorrows or limitations of the individuality or that what we call it as the question of living, the living becomes such a beauty when you know that you are not the limited individual anymore. Don't you want to?
Theoretically, I do.
What? Theoretically? What? Theoretically? Practically also. Tell me what is not practical. This very moment you are that. Are you the individual? You are experiencing the individuality, right? I'm not denying that. But you are not you, the individual. Because you know you are the individual is a knowledge which is beyond the individuality. Don't you see that?
I have a fleeting experience of that as seconds at a time. And when you talk about observing phenomena, observing being the observer, and everything is ephemeral and not true, not real, that I understand. But I don't live in a space where I am beyond thought or that I'm pure awareness. That is not how I live my life. I mean, I think that would be probably far preferable, but I am, you're right, I'm here amidst suffering and identification, and I'm trying to make a shift.
Are you aware of their suffering? Are you aware of the living you are doing? Are you aware of the limitation of your individuality? Let me ask you one by one.
I'm aware of my suffering, yes.
So you are aware. So you are the subject who is aware of all these things. So those things are all contents of your awareness. You
Yes.
agree with me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. When they are contents of your awareness, you cannot be them or inflicted by them, because even infliction is an awareness, is a knowledge to you. Right?
Well, they do afflict me. And you're using the word afflicted. Yes, that's the correct word.
But yes, when they are inflicting you, are you identifying with the infliction or are you observing the infliction?
Both. I feel the
Yes.
emotional
When
state.
you're feeling, you are feeling something, right?
Right.
So you have to be different from something which is being felt. Agreed?
When I'm observing, yes. When I'm not
You
aware
are
of myself.
you are the observer. Everything else is being observed.
When I do that, I observe, but it's not a consistent practice for me as of yet. You may have that over many lifetimes. You've developed a sustained capacity to observe. I have not yet developed that.
You are doing that this very moment. All you have to do is shift yourself from the individual Aryan to that awareness which is knowing even Aryan as an individual. This very moment. Think. It is with the thought you are killing that identity of the individuality. It is just like for an indigestion you have to take a tablet, because that is also a thing which is for indigestion. No? For indigestion you need to take a digestive tablet. Even that is like that. The thinking is a process by which even the thought will get dissolved in it, because there is no more thinker separate from the thinking at that time. When you do the thinking, you are aware of that you are doing the thinking. The contents of the thinking are not you, and when the contents of the thinking is not you, the one who thinks about the content also cannot be you, because you are aware of this as a subject who is doing the content of thinking, knowing the content of thinking. Both are in an awareness where there is no I-ness into it. This very moment you are that. Shift yourself.
So my question was, because I can't do that for sustained periods of time, Bindaji. I can do that for seconds. I can do that for seconds.
Yeah, okay. Let us assume that you can do it for a fraction of a second. But when that fraction of a second, when you were doing that, were you bound by the individuality, or you were free from every bondage?
Freer, for sure.
If you are freer, and that is your true nature, you can stabilize on that freer awareness rather than coming back to the individuality with the mind and identifying with the limitations.
So you have the capacity to choose. What happens if I don't have the capacity? So
You have the capacity. It is there with you because you showed that you have the capacity, because you said you were freer even for a fraction of a second. That capacity is there in you. All you have to do is that identify with that. Don't identify back with that one which is not freer.
And so how can one do that for more sustained, more frequent periods of time?
Be in that all the time. Be not the one which is going through the limitation, but know that you are the one which is free all the time. You are all the time complete. You are all the time that pure awareness in which everything is happening. So you are the one substratum in which even the individuality, in the mind, the thinking, the world of experiences, everything is being happening. Shift yourself to that and observe it. Let the things happen. You are not the one which is getting inflicted by these happenings, but you are the observer of these things, including the infliction, so that you don't identify with the infliction, what is happening. When you do not identify with it, the infliction doesn't remain as infliction anymore. It will become just an event, and that event over a period will become unreal to you, because you will be more in the freer individuality or no freer awareness to deny the individuality of yourself.
Okay, so back to my original question, and hopefully I could do that more often by just saying to know the value of it, by verifying it. But then, Bindaji, how are you motivating yourself to do anything? Like from what place do you act? If that's your reality.
This motivation, everything is when I think that I am the individual. For me, there is no motivation, no demotivation. They are just events or the movie which is happening in my awareness. There is no I which is there involved in the movie, which is acting with motivation or demotivation, pleasure or happiness or sorrow, or to be there, not to be there. They appear to be happening in my awareness, in my true nature. I'm using the word my just for the purpose of explaining it, but there is nothing called my, even I can say that. It is that in which there is, the whole thing is, the picture is being played out. It is awareness which is playing out. The world is an awareness. A happening is awareness. The individuality is our awareness. I am neither Arine, nor Bindo, nor Prakash, nor Revati, nor Ganesh, or anybody for that matter. They are all contents in the awareness. And I am the awareness in which it is happening. I cannot say it is happening also, but it appears to be happening. Because that is the nature of awareness. What is the nature of awareness? What is happening is nature of awareness. This world is the nature of awareness. That is why you have to see everything as awareness. It is not a object to be identified like a building or a bird or a human being. They are all names and forms. Building, bird, human being and all. They are nothing but awareness. We call it by names. Therefore, we call it as names and forms. But in reality, it is awareness which is playing around. Why I am using the word playing? Because it appears to be happening, but it is not really happening. Therefore, I have to use the word playing.
Yeah, there's that scene in Yogananda's autobiography where he talks about seeing through the walls of buildings and just seeing everything as a projection, like on a movie screen, just all projection. But that's not where I live at this point. But what you're saying is I could choose at least sometime, or theoretically, this freer part, which would be less identified by just knowing the taste of it. It would be that I would start to prefer it enough to make the effort to do that. I think that's what I'm gathering from, that could be a point in which I pivot from my ordinary, just identifications and experience of myself into something that's maybe not what I take as myself. Everything is just observed, including what I take as myself. It's just like the bird or the dog.
Right. You're absolutely right. And the more you do that, the more freer you will identify yourself with. And there will be a time when you know that even what you are doing now, right now for identification, you think for the purpose of living, that is also nothing but the play of awareness. There is no I. There is no play. There is only awareness. I'm using the word awareness because there is no other way to explain that from the point of view of waker. But it is not even awareness because it has no name. You cannot use it. It is 100%. There is no... See, the problem is that the moment I open my mouth, it is brought down to human concepts. The best thing is to keep quiet.
Yes, I know you can't function as the observer as soon as you're engaged in something, is what you're saying, pretty much.
Yes, but when you know that being an observer or even day-to-day living, you are totally detached, disengaged. That should be the word, actually speaking. You are totally disengaged, appearing to be engaged. That is the way.
Yes, I use this, I say engaged detachment. So exactly, that one would be engaged but not totally, that one would be detached but not disengaged either. Yes, I know that's important. Thank you so much for saying all that. I really appreciate it. I want to give Ravati some time, but I really appreciate you and what you've given me tonight. Thank you.
You can always. I will never stop talking if somebody is so interested and so sincere like you. I can spend 365 days, 24/7 for this purpose. I don't want to sleep. But your interest is the one which keeps my thing going. I'm really happy, Aryan, that you are taking the efforts and you are in the right place. You can. Nobody else can. You can. Because you have decided that freer you is the reality and you want to be that. Or you don't want, I'll put it this way, you don't want to be the limited individual anymore. With the motivation, suffering, infliction, everything identified with individuality. Thank you. Revati?
Pranam Binduji,
Pranam.
and thank you for a very clear and beautiful explanation of these 54 and 55th words and further also. Thank you. And my question is, when the Vijnanamaya, in pure Vijnanamaya, there is Sakshi to identify the, not to identify, but Sakshitva, by the Sakshitva only, it says that like this is hospital, this is school, and it is just the experience. Is it right, Binduji?
Right. They're all nothing but experiences appearing to be happening from the point of view of pure awareness. There is nothing really happening, nor you are the individual who is suffering or going through the happenings. They are all awareness playing out in awareness.
Yes, and after that Vijnanamaya, in the higher level, there is no Sakshitva also.
Yeah.
Is that right, Binduji?
Yeah, there is no Sakshitva also. Because Sakshitva, the moment you identify with the witness, there is something to be, there is the subjectivity comes. I am the subject witnessing the objects. Even that is not there in that pure state. Because did you have the idea that you are the one who is projecting the dream in the dream was going on?
No.
The dreamer is separate from you. The dream world is separate from you. The whole experiences were happening to you. But you didn't even know that you are the one who is projecting the dream and the dreamer, etc. also.
Yes.
So same is the case with the waking. You are that awareness where the dream, waking world and the waker and everything is being projected in the awareness. That is why the dream and the waking experience was compared between the two.
Yes, the Vijnanamaya is in between the higher level of that Brahman, and if I come, the Vijnanamaya becomes not Vijnanamaya, but in lower level, when it comes to mind level, then it starts that my hospital, my school, then the mind is there, then the identification starts. So in that mind level also, the dharanatva is necessity.
Taking place. Right.
Is there.
Is appearing to be taking place. Actually speaking, not taking place. Appearing to be taking place. Yes.
Yes.
That's why.
Then it's not just.
That is why we
it's
call it as appearance.
But the mind should also, but the mind level also, there should not be the I. Then only there is no mind, the Vijnanamaya. I should see the projections also at the level of Vijnanamaya.
Right.
It's like that, no, Binduji?
Yeah, it's like that.
Okay. Binduji, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Revati. Aryan, so one chooses the orientation of the disengaged observer rather than being observer is the right statement.
Rather than being the experiencer, because we're indulging in the experience. I mean, that's where the supposed love and goodies are, but that's also where the suffering is. I mean, the suffering is just seeing having a sense of what's possible, and then seeing who one is in relationship to what is possible. It's really dwarfing, and after a certain point, it's just, there's a lot of internal conflict. That's, I think, part of the reason the Bhagavad Gita is so compelling. I mean, all those soldiers on the battleground, of course, Shashva, or whatever the name was. It's just that's inside of us. And at some point, it's like, I want out. I don't want that anymore.
You're always out. If it is happening inside you, you are always have to be outside, no? Okay. Aryan, that Dropbox, you have got a browser option also. You don't have to have the Dropbox. You can watch it in the browser also.
I'm not sure how, but I can say that to use the Dropbox, I would have to pay for it, and I don't use it often.
No. You don't have to download it. You can watch it in the browser. In the browser itself as a online text.
Okay, I'm not sure.
Yeah, try that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. If it were just a sloka, it might be possible just to copy and paste it in the chat for people in the future. It might be good. Just something to think about. If there's just 2 or 3 shlokas, to just cut and paste them, because your English audience is delayed in its capacity to take in these terms, and also the Sanskrit. And so we want to meet you halfway. We're trying to meet you halfway, although sometimes it's hard. And we know that you've spent decades studying, but also living, paying the price to live these ideas. And I think for a lot of us in the West, it just remains on the level of knowledge. And for myself, I've been studying some ideas like this since I was 15 years old. And to put them into practice is another thing. So that's the longing I have, is to make that leap. Because I do feel that there's a contradiction in what I know, what I should and want to be, and how I live. And I've yet to bridge that interval. And I'm wanting to.
Definitely. You can. We will see what way we can help for those who want to follow the verses in the chat, or maybe let me see whether I can give an online content to her. You don't have to use a Dropbox type of a setup.
No, Binduji, there is an option like Dropbox, and below that there will be option in browser. So you have to click that browser area. Then it will come the
Okay.
browser will come. Because I am using not Dropbox, the browser only.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Aryan. Thank you, Revati. Prakash.
Thank you, Binduji. Hari Om.
We'll meet on Wednesday. Hari Om.
Sure,
We'll
Manoj.
meet on Wednesday.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I work
Same time.
I'm working on
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Yes, Aryan.
But thank you so much, and I do appreciate this, and thank you everyone in the audience for letting me say my piece.
Thank you, Aryan. Prakash. We'll close the room.
Yes. I'll just
Hari Om. Namaste.
Hari Om. Yes. Good night.